This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Alright, and welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, and as always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. Alright, it is Tuesday. Second day this week doing the show. Like I said yesterday, this is now going to be a Monday through Friday podcast, so make sure you're ready for that. So, let me tell you what we got going on today. We got Celtics-Cavs, first segment. I got a lot to talk about there. Okay, a lot on my mind about that game. Going to put some blame on Brad Stevens. I'm going to put a lot of the blame on Brad Stevens, actually. And going to talk good about the Cavs. So we're going to do that for the first segment. We talked Brady a bit in the fourth segment yesterday. I feel like I want to touch more on that and pretty much just give it its own segment. So we're going to spend the second segment talking about Brady not being at OTAs. Yesterday, like I said, we just barely really did. We touched on it, but I just didn't really give my full thoughts on it all. I mean, Bill Belichick's being asked about it. Brian Hoyer himself is being asked about it. So I'm just going to give my thoughts on all of that. Pretty much just go from, I'm going to save my thoughts for the second segment. Third segment, we're going to spend it talking soccer. We're not just going to touch one subject. We're going to go around different things. Arsenal seems like they're going to be having a new manager. All right, Manchester United lost in the FA Cup to Chelsea on Saturday. I'm going to talk about their disappointing season. And then a couple of other things to touch on. Later this week, we will be talking or previewing the Champions League final between Liverpool and Real Madrid. All right, I'll make my prediction for that game later on in the week. If you want to check out my prediction already or just a segment on it, it is on the GSMC Soccer Podcast. But like I said, we'll be talking about it later on this week still. And then for the fourth segment, we got Game 4 between Houston and Golden State going on tonight at 6 o'clock. We're going to be previewing that. I'm going to talk more so about, I guess, just give my idea, my thoughts on what Houston can do in order to try and pick up a win tonight, which would be tough, just given the fact that there's not really too many ways you could stop the Warriors. It's more so just they got to play poorly themselves and beat themselves, I guess, in order for you to have a chance at winning. So we're going to be talking about that and then see if there's anything else. Oh, yeah, we had the Capitals winning yesterday, too, Game 6. All right, so maybe we'll mention that, talk about Game 7 a bit. And it was kind of something out of character for the Capitals, meaning that they really don't come up clutch. They really don't play well when it comes to the big time, and they did in Game 6. But they do have the worst Game 7 winning percentage with a minimum of 5 games. Saw that stat on ESPN, and it turns out Tampa Bay actually has the best. So, I see stats like that, and you tend to think, you look into it a bit, but it's Game 7, and honestly, anything could happen in a Game 7. And a lot of these guys, on this team probably haven't really been in those other games. All right? So we'll talk more about that in the fourth segment, but like I said, we're going to do Celtics-Cavs first, Tom Brady second, then soccer in the third, and then for the fourth, we're going to preview Houston versus Golden State a bit, give my thoughts on Game 4 going into it, and then we will talk Caps, Tampa Bay. All right, so let's get into it. Like I said, Celtics-Cavs yesterday, Game 4, and it's just Boston doesn't look ready, honestly, okay? Winning 2 at home, that's what you're supposed to do when you have home court, okay? You're supposed to be in the higher seed, you're supposed to win. And I understand that they're without Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving, but nonetheless, we've seen what the Celtics team could do with the guys they got out there now, all right? And it seems just going back to Games 3 and 4 into Cleveland, they just weren't ready for it. And I think that Brad Stevens simply maybe waited too long to make adjustments here. But nonetheless, let's get into the stats and score of the game. And then, like I said, I'll give more of my thoughts on it after. So Celtics ended up losing to the Cavs 111-102. For these Celtics, you had Marcus Morris, who had 10 points, 3 rebounds, 4 of 8 shooting, 1 of 2 from the three-point line. Al Horford, he had 15 points, 7 rebounds, but that's not really great. He shot 5 of 13, 1 of 3 from the three-point line, only had 1 assist. Usually, when Al Horford's out there playing pretty much his best, you see that he's got his assist numbers high, his rebound numbers are high, and his field goal percentage is at an efficient rate. All right, obviously that wasn't the case yesterday. Jason Tatum had 17 points, 2 rebounds, shot 5 of 13, 0 of 1 from the three-point line. And Boston's biggest thing in this postseason has been that they haven't been a good road team. I believe they're now 1-5 or 1-6, I believe. I have to double check that stat, but nonetheless, it's something around there. All right, and Jason Tatum has been the guy who's actually, his points per game average has improved on the in the road on the playoffs, or on the road in the playoffs. And it's just like yesterday, yeah, he finished with 17 points, but it's something where it just seems like he just wasn't into the game. And I'm not saying he quit or anything like that, but it's just Cleveland somehow found a way to just take him out and pretty much just make him invisible a bit. All right, Terry Rozier, he was okay yesterday. He was a +3, which was a team best. Al Horford was a +2, which was the second team best. And after that, everyone was a minus. But nonetheless, Terry Rozier, he had 16 points. Like I said, was a +3, had 11 assists, 6 rebounds, shot 6 of 15, 3 of 9 from the three-point line. And he played all right, but it's more so you'd hope that if you're the Celtics that he'd be a little bit more efficient as far as his field goals. All right, like I said, he went 6 of 15, 3 of 9 from the three-point line. But what can you do when the Cavs are playing about as good as you possibly could? The Cavs yesterday were putting up all kinds of effort on defense, something that we haven't really seen so far this season. Jaylen Brown went 10 of 23 from the field, 2 of 6 from the three-point line, had 25 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. Off the bench, you had Semi Ojeleye, who played 9 minutes, had 3 points, shot 1 of 2. Aaron Baines had 8 points, 7 rebounds, shot 2 of 3 in 16 minutes. Marcus Smart played 31 minutes, had 8 points, 5 assists, 2 steals, shot 2 of 8 from the field, 1 of 5 from the three-point line. No Greg Monroe, no Yabusele, no Nader, and Shane Larkin is still out with a shoulder injury. For the Cavs, LeBron about played as well as you could. Okay, 44 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. Did have 7 turnovers, and that's one thing too with the Cavs is I think they committed 18 turnovers, and compared to Boston, that was 18-9 right there. Usually you'd see a team committing that many turnovers really don't turn out too well, but it's more so Boston couldn't take advantage on the offensive end. So like I said, LeBron had 7 turnovers, but nonetheless, he still played extremely well. He had 44 points, like I said, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, shot 17 of 28, 1 of 4 from the three-point line. Kevin Love didn't really play well, had 9 points, 5 fouls, 6 turnovers, did have 11 rebounds, shot 3 of 12, 1 of 4 from the three-point line. Tristan Thompson was a monster yesterday, had 13 points, 12 rebounds, also had 2 blocks, shot 6 of 10. George Hill, extremely efficient, had 13 points, 3 assists, 4 rebounds, shot 6 of 9. J.R. Smith is J.R. Smith, I've realized, and what that means is he's not really going to give you an efficient game, but he's going to give you buckets. He's going to give you those momentum buckets, all right? And that's what he did yesterday. He had 9 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, shot 3 of 9 from the field, but 3 of 6 from the three-point line. So, like I said, all 3 of those threes that he hit pretty much came in big moments, all right? Whether it was Boston trying to come back on a run or whether it was just adding to the beating that they were giving the Celtics. Larry Nance played 10 minutes in this one, had 7 points, 3 rebounds. Only went 1 of 1 from the field, but got to the line 7 times, hit 5 of those free throws. Also had 2 blocks. Jeff Green had 2 points, 5 rebounds, shot 1 of 5. And then you had Kyle Korver, who played 25 minutes. He's probably been the Cavs' second best player this entire postseason, if we're being real here, okay? He had 14 points, had 3 blocks, 4 rebounds, shot 4 of 7, 2 of 5 from the three-point line, all right? Kyle Korver is one of those guys where, on the defensive end, you never really expect him to do much. If anything, he's usually a liability. But one thing I've noticed with this Cavs team the last 2 games is that they're putting in effort. They're trying, okay? During the regular season, they were putting in no effort at all. But now it seems that, you go down 2-0 to the Celtics, like, oh, wait, maybe we should start trying and start doing something. That seems like what it's been, all right? Jose Calderon didn't play, Rodney Hood didn't play, and Jordan Clarkson only played 4 minutes. Didn't really do much there. It was, I guess, pretty much just garbage time, if anything. All right. The score was 111-102, and, for Boston, if you look at it, they finished their first quarter down 34-18. After that, they outscored Cleveland in every quarter. Okay? Second quarter, they outscored them by a point. Third quarter, they outscore them by 2. Fourth, they outscore them by 4. Boston's got to figure out a way against this Cleveland team on the road, whether if they get back, they'll be back in Game 6. They got to figure out how to start it off strong. Okay, in Boston, I'm sure Boston, they're going to come out and play well, but it's a matter of on the road, you got to get the job done still. Okay, and that's cool that Boston has home court for this series, but it's a matter of you don't want to go to Game 7 with LeBron. Game 7 for LeBron is literally just another game. Okay, he knows what it takes, and a lot of these Cleveland players are all veterans. They know what it takes to win in this league. Okay, Boston, except for a few players, is a bunch of first and second year players. They got to figure it out. And one person I'm going to put a lot of the blame on, too, for yesterday's loss for the Celtics is Brad Stevens. All right, on yesterday's podcast, I believe it was, I think I said that they needed to move Marcus Morris to the bench, have him come out and give him some scoring that way, and move Marcus Smart to the starting 5. All right, whether that be guarding Kevin Love or LeBron James, it didn't matter. Just to give him a little bit spark as far as limiting those guys. When Marcus Smart was out there guarding LeBron, okay, I'm not going to go out and say he stopped LeBron or anything like that because that's crazy. LeBron is always going to get his no matter what. But you could tell that Marcus Smart was frustrating LeBron a bit, okay? And I'm not saying he was stopping him, but you could tell there was some frustration there. All right? Some fouls on LeBron against Marcus Smart where he pushed Marcus Smart. I think Marcus Smart drew a charge on him. All right? You could tell that he was not getting in his head, but more so just limiting him a bit. That's what the Celtics should have did yesterday, okay? And in the fourth quarter, you see that Boston's making a run. Stevens pulls Marcus Smart. And you could tell everyone knew that was the wrong move because even you got the ESPN cameras panning back to Marcus Smart on the bench as Cleveland's starting to come back. Or not come back, I should say, but extend their lead. All right, you don't pull Marcus Smart when your team's on a momentum run. You don't do that. Okay? And Brad Stevens simply yesterday just really disappointed. He's been probably the best coach, probably besides Steve Kerr, in this postseason as far as making adjustments and all that. And it's just he either waited too long or just didn't make the right adjustment in Game 4. Now Cleveland's got all the momentum on their side, and if they win Game 5, series is over. Okay, Game 5 is a must-win for the Celtics, no doubt. Okay, Game 5 for Cleveland is just another one because you have to go back to Cleveland for Game 6, and Boston just hasn't looked good on the road so far. I mean, imagine Boston, these young guys going down 3 games in a row, then going back on the road where you've struggled and you know you've struggled. It's not working out. And also one thing with the Celtics too is that they were taking way too many threes early on in the shot clock. They just completely got away from what they did in the first 2 games. All right, getting to the paint, making the extra pass. You didn't see that at all. It's a lot of hero ball here. But enough about Boston. I mean, as far as Cleveland goes, you're starting to see contributions from everyone. George Hill playing like the veteran that he is. Okay, Kevin Love really hasn't done much, but then you got guys like Kyle Korver coming off the bench, stepping up. And plus, like I said, with Cleveland on defense, they're looking good. They're giving effort. And that's all they really needed to do. The switching, all right? Staying on their man, closing out. They've done it all. So right now, I'd say, the first 2 games, obviously Boston looked the best. Last 2 games, Cleveland looked the best. I'm not really sure. Like I said, the adjustment Celtics need to make for Game 5 is put Marcus Smart into that starting 5. He's not going to give you points off the bench. All right? Aaron Baines isn't going to give you points off the bench. They're only going with an 8-man rotation now. All right, so you do need Marcus Morris out there to run it with the second unit. So we'll see what they end up doing. But like I said, it's not looking good for Boston. And if they I'm going to stick with my Celtics in 7 pick. But going into if Boston does win Game 5, then I think it does go 7. And like I said, I don't really trust this young team against LeBron in a Game 7. But like I said, I'm going to stick with my pick. So there's that. But anyway, for the next segment, we're going to be talking Tom Brady and just give my thoughts on all of that. So stay tuned for that, and I'll be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. We spent that first segment basically talking about how poorly the Celtics played and how much better the Cavs played. All right, they won Game 4, 111 to 102. Now for Boston, it's a must-win Game 5 right there, heading back to Boston. They don't do that, series is over in 6. They win Game 5, it's up for grabs in Game 7. So we'll see what ends up happening, but I mean, it's not really a great recipe for success when you continuously struggle on the road in the postseason. I understand this is a young team and all that, but there's a point where, yeah, you're young, but you're playing very well. Obviously, they'd be a whole lot better if Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward were how you're playing with the Celtics. Yeah, series would be over already. Okay? But nonetheless, they're not here. Celtics got to figure out. Brad Stevens needs to do better. So we'll see what ends up happening. But nonetheless, let's head over to the NFL. Okay? Tom Brady and the Patriots, this has been, I don't want to call it a saga, but it seems like it's starting to turn into that given the media presence for it. Okay? Timeline. About week 14 or so, sometime around there, Seth Wickersham puts out an article, and we've talked about it, we've covered this many times. Okay, he puts out an article saying that there's tension between Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, and it's more so Robert Kraft is on Tom Brady's side. All right, and that might be one of the reasons why Jimmy Garoppolo was traded for about a bag of peanuts. Okay. And then that happens. Let's see what else happened. I think after that, or was it before that, where Tom Brady's trainer was banned from the team facilities? I think it was before that. Either way, that happened. And then the article comes out. Okay. There was an article by the Boston Herald, I believe it was, or the Boston Globe, but I have to double check it. But nonetheless, there was a report coming out how Bill Belichick basically made an example of Gronk for going with the TB12 trainers rather than the team trainers themselves. And now Brady isn't at OTAs. Okay? And OTAs are voluntary. Players don't need to be there or anything like that. But nonetheless, this is a story. Bill Belichick's being asked about it at the press conferences, and Brian Hoyer, if anyone, has been asked about it too. All right? And I think that this is a non-issue, and like I said, we touched on it yesterday, but I want to go a little bit more in depth with it today. But like I said, I think it's a non-issue, but of course, when you've got the winningest franchise in the last 20 years of the NFL, where they've pretty much had a squeaky clean record, and I don't know how squeaky clean actually they've been. I mean, you got Spygate, Deflategate, and all that, and I think Deflategate was a complete sham if we're being real here. Spygate, yeah, you got something there. Okay, but nonetheless, yeah, I do think Deflategate was just a bunch of garbage. I mean, that's not why the Patriots won. Patriots won because the Colts couldn't stop the run, if you remember that game. All right. But nonetheless, I mean, the Patriots have always been a team where it's the Patriot way. Okay, we run things a certain way. We don't let outside noise get in here. And now it seems that the outside noise is starting to creep in a bit. Okay? And that's why it's starting to become a story, I feel. Tom Brady not being at OTAs, I have no problem with it whatsoever. And I'm not sure how Bill Belichick feels about it. He was asked about it and said he's not going to talk about the players that aren't there. He's there to focus about the players that are there. It's a fine answer. Okay? I agree. And, I mean, we all know, I hope we all know, Tom Brady's going to be there week 1 for the Patriots. He's going to be there at training camp. Okay? If he's not there at training camp, then yeah, it's a bigger story. But I just don't see that happening. All right? And, of course, we did have that little video clip, too, that I just remembered of Tom Brady. He was talking with someone. Someone asked him, do you feel that the Patriots have appreciated you enough? And then the clip says Tom Brady pleads the fifth. But I think there was some context lost there because it was just a little 10-second clip or whatnot. So I don't really put too much stock into that. But nonetheless, stuff has creeped in. Okay? And one thing I've noticed is that Rob Gronkowski isn't at OTAs either. Okay? No one's talking about that. That's not a story, obviously, right? Because we all know Gronk's going to be there. And if anything, I feel Gronk not being at OTAs is probably a bigger story than Tom Brady not being at OTAs, okay? And for the record, I think that any player who's not at OTAs, I have no problem with. It's not really necessarily a big story. But Gronk, I feel, is more so a story than it is Brady. All right? Brady doesn't need to be at OTAs. Brady is 41 years old. Brady's won 5 Super Bowls. Brady is one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Gronkowski is a guy who's been mulling retirement last couple of years, it seems. Maybe looking for a new deal. And a guy who's just been injured all the time. Okay. And it seems like the reason why Gronkowski is skipping out on OTAs is because maybe he wants a new deal or a little bit more money. All right. But as far as Brady not going there, being there, it's more so the media trying to create a story that I don't think is there. All right. Because the fact of the matter is, Brady not being on OTAs, does this make us think that they're not going to win the AFC East? The Jets and Bills got rookie quarterbacks. Miami, I mean, no one knows what's ever going on over there. One day they look like a really good team. They're taking a step in the right direction. The next week they look like, oh, this is the old Dolphins here. So, I mean, obviously the Patriots are going to be winning the AFC East there. All right. As far as the rest of the AFC, I mean, is there anyone better than the Patriots right now? Jacksonville, you can maybe no, I don't think you can make an argument for Jacksonville. Jacksonville came close to knocking them off in the AFC Championship last year, but it's more so they didn't. All right. They weren't really ready. And now you got the Steelers. The Patriots are basically the Steelers' boogeyman. Whenever the Patriots Steelers end up going up against the Patriots, they always seem to shrink. Okay? As far as the other teams, I mean, who's really out there to challenge? The Texans? We're going to see what Deshaun Watson looks like after that knee injury. Tennessee, I think, is going to be a good team, but I don't really think they're going to be better than the Patriots at all. The only teams, I guess, that you can say are better than the Patriots are over in the NFC. The Patriots don't got to really see them, at least for the postseason, until the Super Bowl. Okay. So as far as Tom Brady not being at OTAs, it's a non-issue. And maybe there is a little something, I guess, maybe some tension between Belichick and Brady. But like I said yesterday, they know what the end goal is. All right? The end goal is to win it all. Go to the Super Bowl and win it. This isn't something where I think it's going to affect them. Okay? That's where the Patriot way plays in. Okay? They know what the task at hand is. They know how to keep the outside noise out when they need to. All right. And maybe should Brady be at OTAs, just given all the media speculation and all that? Maybe that might be a good look. Okay. Because if Brady were to show up at OTAs, that would pretty much just shut everything down. There would be no stories to write. Okay. But nonetheless, with Brady not being there, that does give him something to write about. All right? And Brady has every right not to be there. But if the Patriots, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady don't want this little media circus that is starting to build up, then Tom Brady should be there. All right? But again, it's a matter of if they even care about it. Okay? If there's even a story. If there even is tension. I mean, we're honestly never going to know. We'll never know unless Brady, Belichick, or someone close to the Patriots comes out and says outright, yeah, there is. Okay, we got all these unnamed sources. And again, people will say, oh, well, name the sources. I mean, usually as a journalist, you can't do that. All right? So we'll never know for sure. But if the Patriots, Tom Brady, want this whole media thing to go away, then Brady needs to show up. And again, I don't have a problem with him not being there, because the fact is he doesn't need to be. All right? And now it's just a matter of getting through it until training camp gets here, when he will be there. Okay? So as far as the Patriots go, I mean, I think they're fine. There's no real problems, I think, amongst the team. I don't think Bill Belichick is really losing sleep over Brady not being there, because like I said, he knows Brady will be there for training camp and week 1. If anything, maybe this is good for Brian Hoyer. Get him some reps. Get him a little bit better. Focus with Bill Belichick a little bit more. All right. But I mean, one thing that you do look at is, I mean, for the young guys, you would like the quarterback to be there, the starting quarterback. Okay. I think Big Ben is at OTAs, and usually you don't see the starting quarterback not showing up to OTAs. So I guess that is a little bit weird there. Starting quarterback is supposed to be the guy who leads by example. Okay. You got Big Ben, who you could tell, was not happy with Mason Rudolph getting drafted, but nonetheless now says, now that he's at OTAs, he will be mentoring Rudolph and all that, which is just hilarious in itself because, I mean, you could tell Big Ben was not happy at all with Mason Rudolph getting drafted. Okay? So we'll see what ends up happening, but like I said, there's no real issues or anything going on with the Patriots, I feel. It's just more so the media trying to build up a story that might not be there, possibly could be, who knows. All right? So that's all I got to say about that. Next up, we're going to be talking soccer. We're going to be hitting a bunch of different topics, so stay tuned for that, and I'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. So far today, we've talked Tom Brady. I know we mentioned it a bit in the fourth segment yesterday, but that's all we did, just mentioned it, about him not being at OTAs. We spent that second segment going a little bit more in depth on it. And then for the first segment, we talked about the Celtics getting not blown out, but I mean, this is a game where they weren't really close, and a lot of that has to do with that poor first quarter that they had. But nonetheless, the Celtics got to figure something out. I think it's more so throwing Marcus Smart into the starting five and having Marcus Morris come off the bench. But we'll see what Brad Stevens wants to do for Game 5. All right, and with the Cavs, I mean, they're showing a whole lot more effort on defense, and I think that's one thing that's helped them propel to this 2-2 tie now that they were down 0-2. All right, so now we're going to be talking soccer. We don't normally do it too much, okay, but nonetheless, there's times where we need to, and this is one of those times. So we're going to be talking Belgium leaving Nangolan off of the World Cup roster. All right, we're going to be talking Manchester United losing in the FA Cup to Chelsea. And Arsenal now to have a new manager. All right, and let's touch on Arsenal first, getting their new manager. All right, so it seems Arsenal are going to be going with, I believe his name is, how do you pronounce his first name? It's Unai Emery, former manager of PSG, okay, to replace Arsene Wenger. I'm not sure how I feel about this move, okay? Because I do have some feelings about PSG of the last few years. We've seen PSG pretty much just try and spend their way to the top. And that has helped them win the League One and their League Cups and all that, but more so it doesn't matter because they haven't done anything in the Champions League. Okay? They just simply haven't at all. Winning the League One and your League Cups year after year doesn't really matter because the fact is none of those teams in France, besides PSG, can spend like that. Okay? They literally can't afford to keep up with the competition, which is PSG. Monaco will give them a fight from time to time, but that's because of the fact that Monaco knows how to go to the clubs where they got rising stars. They will bring those guys in, develop them, and that's how they come close. Okay? But nonetheless, PSG is a team where they're buying the Neymars. Okay? They're buying the Ibrahimoviches. Okay? They're buying everyone. And it's not working because of the fact they don't have the academies. They don't develop players, okay? They don't have the coaches who can develop those, pretty much just develop the team and manage the egos and keep everyone on the same page. All right? And people will point, well, Manchester City does it. But yeah, Manchester City has probably the best manager in all of the world. Okay, and looking at the League One table right now, you had PSG, who finished in first, finished with 93 points. Second place was Monaco, and they finished with 80. Okay? Obviously, a big dip there. And people will point again to Manchester City finishing so high, or winning the Premier League and finishing so high in points. But like I said, Manchester United can compete with the Manchester City. So can Liverpool. We've seen it. Okay, they have the money to do it. Whether or not they do is on them. Okay, but there is a huge difference between the two. Monaco, Lyon, Marseille, teams like that financially can't do it. Okay, the only reason why PSG can is because of their owners. And getting back to Emery, the only reason why I'm a little skeptical of the move is because he had all those players, and all he really had to show for it was a bunch of quarterfinal finishes and round of 16 exits. PSG never once made me look twice at him. Never thought anything of him. Never thought that they can compete with the Barcelona or Real Madrid or Bayern Munich, even with all the players that they had. Okay? And, I mean, when you have all those guys out there buying players year after year, and you're not winning the trophy that matters the most, or at least coming close to it for that matter, that's a problem, isn't it? I think it is. But I do think that Emery possibly could be successful with Arsenal, just given the fact that he does have an academy where he could develop players at. Okay? PSG does too, but more so, they don't really put too much stock into it. All right? Arsenal, you can bring players in from there. Okay? You're not like on a different level financially than those other teams in the Premier League. Arsenal's a top 6 team out there. Okay? And I think with Arsenal too, more so their woes for the last few years was more so it's just Arsene Wenger overstayed his welcome there. Okay, he was there probably a couple years too long. And maybe that's a phase where the players got tired of seeing and they just got tired of hearing. Okay, eventually it's time to switch things up. Sir Alex Ferguson got that. Okay? Arsenal didn't have to make him or Manchester United didn't have to make him resign or anything like that. Sir Alex Ferguson left on his own terms. He knew when it was the right time. All right? And obviously since then, I mean, Manchester United really hasn't been the same. But nonetheless, it's tough to live up to that. Okay? Sir Alex Ferguson, Manchester United was at their peak, and then United left. Okay? And it's kind of like when Bill Belichick retires, whoever succeeds him is going to be trying to replicate that success, which is entirely difficult. Arsenal didn't really have any success the last few years. I mean, yes, they got some FA Cup wins, but as far as the Premier League and Champions League, they haven't really done much. All right? I believe the last time they won the Premier League was back in 2004. They have room for improvement. And that's, I think, where Emery possibly could step in and help. All right? You don't have guys like Neymar and all those other top-notch, high-priced players coming in. Okay? And I think, too, with Aubameyang having a full season, he's going to be one of the best strikers in the Premier League. Came in early February, finished the season with double-digit goals. Now he's got a few more months he's going to add more months in order to score a whole lot more. I think Lacazette is a guy who's going to have an upgrade, do better this season. And then you just got Mkhitaryan, Ozil, unless he ends up leaving. They do need to sharpen up the wingers a bit and maybe look into the midfield a little bit more too, also in the defense. So they do have some holes on that team that they need to upgrade. But nonetheless, I do think that Emery could do something here. It's just his time at PSG where they didn't really win much kind of scares me off a bit. All right. And now we'll just branch over. We mentioned Manchester United earlier. They end up losing to Chelsea 1-0 on Saturday in the FA Cup final. It's a trophyless season. Okay. Jose Mourinho, I feel, has been underwhelming since he's been at Manchester United. Believe that they won the Europa League last year, if I'm not remembering it wrong. Okay. But nonetheless, you're Manchester United. Winning the Europa League is nothing. Okay. Manchester United's a club where if you're going to win a European trophy, it needs to be the Champions League. All right? And I'm not saying they got to do it year after year, but at least compete. Losing in the round of 16 to Sevilla, not really great. All right, not great at all. And it seems that whenever United bring in these top-notch players that come play for Jose Mourinho, they tend to take a dip in form. Paul Pogba was one of the best midfielders in the world at Juventus. He comes to Manchester United. Yes, he did have injury problems and all that, but unless when he was out there, he doesn't really look as good as he did. Okay, Alexis Sanchez goes to Manchester United. The best thing he did there was create a cool promo with them bringing him in. Okay. Mkhitaryan, when he went there, was coming off probably his best season in the Bundesliga for Dortmund. Was a shell of himself at United. Okay. I think Mourinho's the problem and not the players. If it's one player coming in and he doesn't play well, then fine, it's the player. But if it's multiple and it seems to be a theme, then I think there's something bigger to it. All right, and it seems that Mourinho's going to be looking for a lot more players this summer and looking to spend more money, but eventually enough's going to be enough and you're going to start producing results. Okay, Mourinho's a guy who doesn't look to put the blame to himself and looks to blame other people. And that's a problem. And also, I think that Mourinho is, honestly, I think he's past his time as far as being a manager, just given the new era that we're in with these young soccer players. All right? Back then, it was more so you just focused on playing the game, and that's it. Now we're in the social media age and stuff like that, and players are more so looking into other things. Obviously, soccer is their number one priority, but nonetheless, it's not their only thing to do. All right? I don't think Mourinho realizes that. There's a new way to manage these new players. Pep Guardiola gets it. All right, so we'll see if Mourinho could figure it out. But as far as this season, I mean, it's another disappointment. And eventually, Manchester United needs to win a Premier League trophy or Champions League. Okay? Winning a Europa League or making it to the FA Cup final simply isn't good enough. So we'll see there. The final thing I want to touch on for this segment before we close it out is Belgium, their national team. Everyone's been sending out their provisional World Cup rosters, okay? Belgium's got a very good squad. Guys like De Bruyne, guys like Hazard, all right, Lukaku. They got probably the best national team defense in all the world. One of the best goalies in all the world, okay? They have a world-class midfielder in Nangolan playing for Roma. And for some reason, Roberto Martinez decides to leave him off the squad and bring guys like Januzaj and Fellaini. That makes no sense to me. Okay? He claimed it was a tactics reason. It seems that him and Nangolan don't really get along. He needs to put that to the side. Okay? In order for Belgium to be at their best, you need guys like Nangolan out there. All right? They'll probably end up going with De Bruyne and Dembele as their central midfielders, but let me tell you this, Nangolan, I think, is a better midfielder than Dembele. All right? And let's say that it's not really working out, that pairing. You're going to throw in Fellaini? All right? I understand that you don't get along with the player, but there's a point where if something's not working out, just stash him on the bench, and if you absolutely need someone to come out and make a difference, it's him. But now you don't have that opportunity. Okay, and Belgium in the last World Cup, disappointed. Only made it to the quarterfinal. All right, went to extra time with a U.S. team where they should have beat easily. Okay, you can't tell me that U.S. has the amount of quality on that team compared to this Belgium team, because they don't. Belgium this year, I feel, it's semifinals or it's a bad tournament. They have way too much talent on that team. And if they don't make it to the semifinals, and they do look a little bit overrated and just don't play well, then I don't see why they'd bring Martinez back to coach the team going forward. Okay? This is one of those decisions where he better hope it works out, or they'll probably be out of a national team job soon. So we'll see. So I don't agree with it at all, but that's all I got to say about that. We're going to wrap it up here. Next up, like I said, we're going to be previewing Game 4 for the Rockets and Warriors series and then talking about anything else going on in the world of sports. So stay tuned, and I will be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. So far today, we've talked Tom Brady, we've talked soccer, and we've talked Celtics Cavs. Now, we're going to be talking anything else going on in the world of sports. Let's start off with this Houston and Golden State Game 4. Okay, Golden State's currently up 2-1, and honestly, for me, Rockets are done. Okay, I'm just going to flat out say it like that. I don't think they have any chance at coming back. I don't even think they have a chance at making it to a Game 6. I don't see it. Okay. The way the Rockets have played, and again, we talked about it yesterday, the way the Rockets have played, it seems that they only know one way to play, and it's either you're going to stop it or we're going to win. And with the Warriors, they could stop it, and they could also play many other ways. Okay. This has always been Mike D'Antoni's biggest problem, all right, with the Lakers and with the Suns. The Suns had a very good team. All right. Probably should have did more. But when you only know how to play one way, eventually you're going to get figured out. All right. I think the Lakers, they got swept by Dallas that one year, didn't they? When D'Antoni was coaching them. So now it's just a matter of what else is there left to do. Okay. And it's tough. I mean, even if the Rockets wanted to make adjustments, like what adjustments are there to make? Who's going to stop KD? Who's going to stop Steph? Who's going to stop Clay? Who's going to limit Draymond? Who's going to stop him? All right? And you got a bench to worry about. And I mean, going into this game, it's tough because you're also playing in Oakland. Okay? Where it's extremely difficult to get a win. So just thinking about what the Rockets need to do, I mean, for one, move the ball around a whole lot more. It shouldn't be James Harden dribbling the ball for about 20 seconds and then deciding whether or not he wants to pull up, drive in, or dish it out. That's not going to help anyone. Okay? Double KD. Do something. Throw Trevor Ariza on KD. Just leave him on KD. Okay? Obviously, KD is going to get his. You're not going to stop KD. That's just not going to happen. All right? And that's fine. But get in his face a little bit. Okay? Get a hand in his face, I mean. Disrupt his shot. Do something. PJ Tucker has no business guarding a guy like KD because PJ Tucker's about 10 inches shorter. All right? He can't keep up. He doesn't have the length. Have PJ Tucker and Draymond Green go at it. All right? James Harden, how about you give a little bit more effort? That game 3 that I watched was disgusting. It seemed like he didn't want to be there. All right, I'm not saying he quit, but nonetheless, that's what the body language looked like. Okay? Chris Paul, I'm not sure what's going on with him, but he needs to get out of whatever little phase he's in as far as right now. Chris Paul is probably arguably a top 5 point guard all time. He should be playing like it. It's not one where Chris Paul is old and it's just he doesn't got it anymore. He does. Chris Paul had a great season. Okay? And I understand that the Warriors got a great team, but you can't tell me that Steph Curry or Klay Thompson is good enough to make Chris Paul look meaningless on offense. Okay? I'm sorry, but the play where we dribble, pull up at 3-point line, take a shot, that's not going to beat the Warriors. Okay? And Mike D'Antoni needs to realize that maybe he does, but it's a point where he has no other ideas. Okay? So as far as the Rockets, I mean, this is, I don't even want to say it's must win, but it is. But there's a point where it's like, how? How do they even win this game? Okay? They need to pretty much just have someone that's in Steph's face the entire time too. Okay? Make him feel uncomfortable. Don't let him go out there and pretty much just do whatever they want to do. All right? They're going to get theirs no matter what. They're always going to go on a run, but you need to limit that. And I'm not sure if they know how to do that. I mean, it's difficult. This is the greatest team we've ever seen. Okay? Steph Curry has a bad game. KD can go out and drop 40 on your head. Klay Thompson's always good for about 30 a couple times a series. So now we just got to wait and see. But like I said, I mean, with the way the Rockets have been playing, they haven't really switched anything up. It's do or die for them, I guess. And they've died twice. So we'll see what ends up going on. But as far as my pick for tonight, it's going to be the Warriors. Okay? If Houston ends up winning Game 4, then that changes a lot with this series. I mean, you beat the Warriors at home. Now you get to go, or you beat the Warriors on the road. Now you get to go back home. Tied 2-2. That's a confidence builder right there. That's a momentum shifter right there. All right? They just need to figure it out. They need to play with some urgency. Okay? Understand that, yeah, the Warriors are going to go on a run or two, but do your best to limit it and do your best to pretty much just get... What the Rockets need to do is play every possession like it's their last. Okay? Go out there and try and get a point every possession rather than going up for a three every time. Okay? Try and get the easy buckets. Get to the paint. And I understand that's not something that they've done, but it's something they need to do. All right? So we'll see if they end up doing it. But like I said, I'm picking the Warriors tonight. I'm not going to go crazy or anything like that. All right? So let's see what else is going on in the world of sports. The All-NBA All-Rookie teams came out. First and second teams. The first team, well, the All-NBA Rookie team, first team, consisted of Ben Simmons, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, Kyle Kuzma, and Lauri Markkanen. All right. Ben Simmons and Donovan Mitchell were unanimous first-team selections. Jason Tatum nearly was, but missed it by a vote. I'm not really sure who didn't give him that vote, but that's off and that's wrong. Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, and Ben Simmons, I feel, were on a completely different tier compared to these other rookies. All right, they look like veterans out there. So I do agree that Ben Simmons and Donovan Mitchell should have been unanimous selections there. But I also think Jason Tatum should have also. All right, and then you got Kyle Kuzma. Everyone thought that he was just going to be a solid summer league player. Turns out he's a solid NBA player, solid rookie. All right, he does have a future in this league. And I mean, that first team selection is well deserved. Probably the most underrated rookie for me was Lauri Markkanen. I don't think we really talked enough about him. People call him Baby Dirk. All right? He's a player I think that the Bulls can possibly build around. All right? Lauri Markkanen can rebound. He can shoot the three, mid-range, and he can get into the post if he needs to. All right? So I'm perfectly fine. I think they completely got it right there. I don't think there was any snub for the first-team All-Rookie team. All right. The second team consisted of Dennis Smith Jr., Lonzo Ball, John Collins, Bogdan Bogdanovic, and Josh Jackson. I like that one there. Okay. Lonzo Ball probably didn't tear up the league. Everyone thought the way everyone thought he would in his rookie season. And I think expectations for Lonzo Ball were a little high, but nonetheless, he played well. All right. Was he better than any of the 5 guys that were selected for the All-NBA first team? Or the All-NBA Rookie first team? No, he wasn't. He was not better than Markkanen. He was not better than Kuzma. He was not better than Tatum. And he was definitely not better than Simmons or Mitchell. So I think second team fits him well. I saw Kings fans were saying that De'Aaron Fox was snubbed. I don't know if he was snubbed. Okay, he did have a decent rookie season, but I'd still put Lonzo there. Okay. I like putting John Collins in there, Atlanta's forward. That's also a guy that flew way under the radar. No one really talked too much about him. Okay. Bogdan Bogdanovic, I think, was a good selection, and Josh Jackson, too. Josh Jackson, I think, was a solid player this season for the Suns. Hit a rookie wall, but nonetheless, towards the end of the season, probably the second half of the season, played well. Dennis Smith Jr., I think, is going to I'm not going to say he's going to be a superstar, but he's got the potential of becoming one. All right. Maybe needs to fix up his shot a little bit more and be a little bit more efficient. But nonetheless, I mean, Dallas has got a good one there. So I like both the teams. I don't think there was any major snubs or anything like that. All right, Raptors fans saying OG Anunoby should have been in, but he didn't really have his coming out party to the playoffs. Okay. Saw Heat fans throw Bam Adebayo's name out there. I don't think he should have made a second team, but he is going to be a solid player for them going forward. So I like both teams. I like the selections. Okay. And like I said yesterday, too, the Washington Capitals knocked off the Tampa Bay Lightning 3-0. Probably played their best game of the series and of the playoffs, possibly. Now it's a Game 7. I mean, if you're Washington, this is it. All right? I'm sure everyone was picking against them in Game 6. Now it's time to go out and prove a couple more people wrong. I think they got a chance, but it's a matter of, like I said, the team in its history has never really played well in Game 7. Tampa Bay has played well. But anything could go here. Winner gets their Stanley Cup final matchup against the Vegas Golden Knights, and I'm sure the NHL is hoping that it is Washington who comes out on top. All right, so we'll see what ends up happening there. But nonetheless, that's going to wrap it up for today. Today we talked Cavs Celtics, we talked Tom Brady, we talked soccer, and then we talked Rockets Warriors for tonight. And we talked about the rookie teams that were put out. So thanks for listening to the GSMC Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jesse Tapia, as always. We'll be back tomorrow, so I will talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.